Let's welcome on board the whole-time director and CEO at EID Parry. We have Mr. Muthu Murugappan joining in on the show right now. Mr. Murugappan, great to have you today on ET Now. Your sugar segment performance this quarter was clearly impacted on account of lower export volumes, as we understand. Now that restriction on exports have been put for the rest of the current sugar season as well, and since there are high chances that exports will not be allowed in the next sugar season too, what's going to be your strategy for this particular segment?
Very good morning, and thank you for having me on the show. So I think from the sugar segment perspective, yes, from the export perspective, there may not be another quota allotted. I think the government and the policymakers will focus more on, domestic food security. I think the tailwinds that we have are twofold. I think the retail segment from our sweetener business, which is really the consumerization of the sweetener product portfolio. That's a positive. That's done well in Q1, and I think we see continued growth there. We do get premiums compared to prevailing trade prices. Also, the institutional segment, wherein we supply to the larger food and beverage majors, that business has also been healthy. So that is one strategy to sort of counter the fact that we may not be allotted an export quota. And I think secondly is the biofuel program. That's again another tailwind. We've augmented capacities across all of our plants, augmented distillery capacities across all of our plants. And I think we'll see more of that playing out. We've had a good performance on the distillery front in the first quarter, and we expect that to continue.
Your business, you would say, is still the commodity traditional sugar business, and how much has become the branded business which the new management is trying to incubate now?
So of the total volumes, just over 30% would be branded, and I think our aspiration is to take that much higher.
Distillery segment has reported good performance this quarter, and I guess there have been higher realization, increased volumes as well. Is the growth momentum sustainable according to you?
So we see the biofuel opportunity as a medium-term opportunity. I think clearly from an energy perspective, the whole biofuels program and ethanol blending makes a lot of sense. We have also augmented capacities across all of our plants. So we are very positive in the medium term about this opportunity.
You have a lot of historical land bank. That is my understanding of EID Parry. A lot of land bank which you're looking at monetizing, and not just sugar, moving into cardamom, moving into other spices. What is the plan there, and how do you plan to use your land bank? Because that's a historical land bank which you currently have.
Sure. So EID Parry doesn't have a cardamom or spices business. You're perhaps referring to one of our other group companies, the plantations business. But from an EID Parry perspective, yes, I think from our land banks are quite interior, given that our operations are located in the interiors. So we do constantly endeavor to work out how we can monetize these. We have had various sets of conversations with folks in logistics, e-commerce, but perhaps their preferences for land banks closer to larger towns. But we will constantly strive to look at how we can monetize these land banks going forward.
If I look at a parallel in the ethanol industry, given that how grain prices have gone higher, if I look at producers who are making ethanol from rice and wheat, the subsidy advantage has gone away. Then it was bought back in, largely because of extraordinary circumstances. Could that be a risk for sugar-based ethanol producers as well? Because sugar prices, if they go higher, and given the trend in sugar of late, that could be a risk to the core proposition of ethanol business, at least by sugar players.
So, currently the dynamics, Nikunj, is I think the ethanol program is supported by the policymakers. We have good offtake prices. We do aspire, so we do hope that FRPs of sugarcane have gone up. So there is a plea from the ISMA side to the policymakers to improve ethanol offtake prices, and we are hopeful that something will come good there. But from a sugar perspective, at least in the sort of current term, we see prices trading. We haven't seen much of an increase in sugar prices. we have El Nino going on right now. There's perhaps a lower output which is expected, but we haven't seen sugar prices trending up. So they really don't. If you look at global sugar prices, they are at almost 24 cents a pound. They were actually 27 cents a pound in earlier in the year. But I think Indian sugar prices still are sort of very range bound and not impacted too much by global prices.
And given that the company was also looking at a strategic expansion in the FMCG segment, at what stage is this in? What has been the kind of progress that you've made so far?
So I think we got into branding sweeteners to counter the whole commodity element. So we actually have a presence across the southern markets. It's a small presence of just over 1.5 lakh retail outlets, and this we aspire to grow aggressively, and then look at a proposition where we can make this business independent and also get a larger share of the kitchen shelf. I think the brand is strong and the saliency of the brand is strong. So the aspiration is to build a larger share of the kitchen shelf. I mean, according to us, the average kitchen bill in India is about 8,000 rupees. Sweetener is a small component of that. And I think the aspiration is to get a larger share of that grocery or kitchen bill in the household. We will be open to obviously launching newer products, and also open to in the future inorganically growing this business.
Aggressively. So is it only going to be organic, or are you going to even look at acquisitions? What is the kind of opportunity that you're seeing even number wise from this business?
So I think we will look to grow both organically and inorganically. There are I just think there are a lot of tailwinds in this segment. There are a lot of categories which are still only 20-30% branded. If you look at millets, if you look at dal, if you look at rice, even sweet products, there's a lot of headroom from a branding perspective. And I think one expertise which we have built over the last, say, 4 or 5 years is branding the unbranded segment. I mean, sweetener is barely an 8% branded segment, and I guess we built that expertise of branding the unbranded. So I think there's a lot of headroom in some of these categories, and a lot of tailwinds for growth.
Final question is, let me take the clock back. Last decade, EID Parry, the first impression was a south-based sugar company, efficient, great, super management. Now EID Parry moving into ethanol, distillery, moving into branded FMCG. This is 2023. Hypothetically, this is 2028. What do you think we could be discussing? How much will be FMCG? How much will be non-sugar? How much will be branded? How are you likely to expand? Because you are sounding very different from what I've tracked in terms of the trajectory of EID Parry.
Yep. So, if we're in 2028, I think we'll be discussing a very sizable FMCG business, which is beyond sweetener. And I think we'll also be talking about biofuel. I think these are the two tailwinds, and I think these have done positively even in Q1. And these are where we will perhaps see capital allocation, in the coming years. From a biofuel perspective, currently it's the ethanol blending program. You're right; it is well supported by the policymakers. It might go into in the future more market-led demand and supply. But we are also hopeful that ethanol will have a saliency in a broader biofuel canvas of even sustainable aviation fuel. It's in discovery phase right now. We'll have to see how it unfolds. And if that's the case, then this is I would correct myself if that's the case, and it would be a longer term opportunity. And I hope I can, if it's 2028, I hope it becomes a longer term opportunity at that point.
Vision statement. How much top line are you aiming at? Now, it could be this is a vision statement. I'm not talking you to give me a guidance, but broadly, when do you see yourself becoming $1 billion company?
No, I mean, I think I don't want to.
Come on. I'm trying to get the spirit here going. We haven't spoken in a while. It's your first time, at least on my show. You got to leave something for my viewers in terms of an.
I think I'll leave you, Nikunj, and the viewers with the vision. I think this is how we trend, but I think it'll be irresponsible on our part to talk about numbers and timelines. I think we have to get back, put our heads down, and work towards achieving this vision.
Get the trick. You didn't get the trick. I did not specify the currency. You could have gone away by specifying a number without specifying the currency.
You're not going to get an answer out of me.
Or maybe by then there'll be AI generated anchors. Who knows whether you'll still be talking to us in 2028. But thanks so much anyway for taking time out. It's been good having you on board, talking about your business and the long-term growth map.
Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you.
All right, let's